This is the Bear Country Outdoors Barely a Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Joyce, and with me is James Forsland and Chris Cantrell. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to the show. We're doubling down tonight, running another episode. Tonight we're going to go ahead and focus on doing some stories. Since we've been having a lot of topics to talk about, I feel like we're just going to have a little story session here.
Make it fun.
Yeah, we'll make them fun. And then we're also going to give another pair of the Jim Green boots away. And the sizes are 10, 10 and a half, and 12.
Yes.
So if you wear that size, go ahead and comment on this video when it comes available on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And we will announce the giveaway for the last episode and this episode on episode number, what was it, 8?
Yep, on
episode number 8.
Mm-hmm. We'll do both winners on that episode.
And so the guy from Omutadi Safaris who dropped him off was Rohan, and I want to say it's Hageman or Hageman or Hegeman. I'm totally butchering that. Rohan, this dude's name.
Rohan.
He's like super tall and handsome.
Very masculine.
He's like he's very masculine.
He's a man's man.
He's a man's man.
He's a PH in South Africa. He's like super duper hunter guy, and he's tall, fast, and fit. Ladies, I don't know if he's available, but check him out. He's on the he's on the IG.
He didn't know he was gonna get plugged.
Yep.
You're doing them that way. All right. So I guess I'll start off.
Yeah, let's hear a good story.
Let's hear it, Doug.
So
take us back.
we're going to go all the way back to the very, very beginning. And
All the way to the beginning. Oh,
I'm going
I like
tell
the beginning.
my first deer. So my first deer, this happened to be the second year that I was able to go deer hunting. And this is during modern general season. And we were over in Mazama, and this was the first time that I happened to be up in Mazama too. My dad had hunted there a lot. He's always told me a lot of stories about hunting over there. A lot of the big bucks and crazy stories that they had going over there.
Nice.
And just so happens that, it was a big family camp like usual. And I can't remember what day it was.
Was this, okay, hold on 1 second. Was this the year that there was like a season, maybe 2 seasons, where they switched it to like a youth hunt? So the youth hunt was like, it was any deer or like for youth.
I know it was any deer for youth at that point.
Yeah,
I don't know if there was like that special
because otherwise it's
timing.
It's 3-point minimum, but they did a cool youth hunt back then.
Yeah, they did. And they did that for muleys too. So I was able to shoot any deer because I was in that age realm. So I didn't happen to see quite a lot. Because, there was a lot of hunters. That was probably more that I saw than anything was a lot of hunters.
It must have been just chaos up there when that
youth
hunt was going on.
Yeah, you know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that modern season is just wild, crazy up in Mazama, if you've ever been up there. And I don't know. I think someone had already shot one and had it back in camp, and that's just a whole nother story. But my first deer, I had finally got to see a deer, and I took a crack shot at it, and it was, uphill, and it wasn't the clearest view, but I said, what the hell?
Yeah, you're a little kid.
Little kid, it's like, I'm going to just go for it. Mm-hmm. So I shoot, and I think I hit a limb, and the bullet hit low, and the deer jumped up really high, took off, and never seen any blood, nothing. I was all bummed. We were like, Dad's trying to give me the pep talk. I was like, oh, well, son,
yeah,
things happen and it never goes your way every time. So I'm all bummed walking back to, we're walking back down the trail that we were just on. And I had an earpiece with the walkie-talkie. And next thing you know, I hear, hey, Doug, there's a deer.
It's from your dad?
Yeah. There's a deer right behind us. And I'm like, so I turn around really slowly, and he was behind me, like, I don't know, probably 20 feet behind me.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, there's this doe walking down the same trail that we had just literally came down. And it had made no hesitation with the fact that we were standing there in the middle of the trail. So I'm throwing my gun up, and as soon as I start doing that, my dad's starting to crawl off the trail and trying to get behind this log that was happened to be right there. So he lays behind this log, and I get my gun up, and I don't know what happened, but from the time that I shot at this deer earlier till now, for some reason when I reloaded my gun, my bolt didn't catch a bullet.
Oh, no.
So I pulled the trigger and my gun goes click. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm like, I'm a little kid. I'm like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old. And I'm freaking out, and I just immediately I racked a shell in. And sure as shit, it didn't catch for some weird reason.
Right.
It didn't catch a bullet.
Nice.
So I racked another one. And by this time, the deer still kept walking towards us on the trail. And then by the time I got reloaded and threw my gun up, this deer turns broadside at like 20 yards.
Oh, man.
And then that was it. It was
so
over.
It must have been close to your dad at that point.
It was, yeah. It kept walking even after the fact, even after my dad got off the trail.
Yeah.
It was still just walking straight at us. And it was.
So did it just drop or did it run off?
It did the one leg, because I drilled it right behind the shoulder, picked its leg up, hopped around, and then it just tumbled down the hill, and we just literally watched it roll down until it finally stopped, and we were right there. It was like not even a track job.
Nice.
And I mean, it was steep, but the crazy thing was it did like this slow motion roll down the hill where it was just like, how like a bear would, where it's just like
blub,
blub, just like
blub, blub.
jelly.
Yeah.
It was so crazy that it just didn't go that far.
Nice. That's a good story.
Yeah. First deer.
Age 10, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That was probably what, your second
That
hunt?
was the second hunt. Yeah. That was my second year.
Because I think you didn't tag one the first year.
I didn't tag one the first year.
Mm-hmm. When we were little kids, me and Doug did a lot of hunting together.
A lot of family camps.
Well,
they're a blast.
They are a blast. I love family camp. All right, so you said a deer story. I'm going to jump into an elk story. This is a doozy, boys. You better get your seatbelts on.
Strap yourself in, ladies and gentlemen.
We used to hunt an area called Trout Lake. Now, Trout Lake, I think probably if you've listened to the podcast, you've heard me talk about this place. It was an any elk unit that we were hunting in. And as you can imagine, during general modern season, if there's any elk there and it's an any elk unit, it's going to be chaos because that means you can shoot anything. If it is an elk, you can shoot it.
You're going into the gauntlet.
Yes. Now, the downfall to that place was that there wasn't a lot of elk. So you could hunt for days and days on end, not even see an elk. And, anyways, back to the story. This particular year, we got a little skiff of snow. This is on opening. It wasn't opening day. It was the second day, and we got a little skiff of snow, which means something's gonna die, because when you have snow in an area that's any elk, and it happened that night, you wake up in the morning and there's fresh tracks, then okay, there's elk in the area, or you got a general idea of where they went or where they're at. And we all kind of started going into our spots, and we had this idea that we were going to go down to this area that we call the Gauntlet. And the Gauntlet was an area where there was like farm fields down below. Then there was like a little patch of private. Then there was like some dark timber. And then there was got into jack pines, and the elk would always try to get up to the top where they felt the most safe, where it was just thick, nasty vine maple and jack pines and stuff where they could get in the thick shit and just disappear. But as the days went on, I think it was opening day happened. No one bumped into the big herd, and the big herd was gone. So second morning, we all started going into the get set up in this Gauntlet. And nothing happens. Well, we catch a fresh set of tracks going down off the top into the area down below. And that area is pretty thick, but we know the area well enough that we know that there's an open spot here, there's an open spot here, open spot here. And it was a herd of about 20, maybe 15 or 20 elk. And there's definitely some bulls in there. And there was definitely a bunch of cows. And we didn't care. We were going to shoot anything. So we come up with this plan. There's a pretty good sized group of us, and it was me, my Uncle Vern, my cousin Vernon, and another buddy. And we all like came up with a plan like, okay, I think it was me or Vern or someone decided we were going to drop in on the tracks. Then someone was going to go down below and go down through this vine maple crap and like kind of come up. And then the other two were going to just disperse across the hillside, and we were going to just kind of drop in on this group of elk, hoping that either the person at the bottom would push them up or that we would all like bump them in between each other or something. Well, we all start going down in this jack pine stuff, and all of a sudden I just like start hearing like a loud eruption happening. This is just like the woods explode with noise, right? And I know what that means. And everybody's like, oh my gosh. And everyone's jumping on the radio. Is there something going on? I don't know. I don't see anything. And all of a sudden I hear boom, boom. And I'm like, oh my gosh, someone's getting an elk. So, and it's close. And I'm like, oh man, I'm trying to pinpoint. I hear all this noise, exploding trees and stuff crashing through the woods. And then I hear all these gunshots, and I'm like, where are these elk at? And I'm in like some nasty, thick jack pine stuff. And I'm just like, gosh, I can't see anything. So I just like start working my way towards, as fast as I can, towards this timber. And I can hear the elk kind of coming up. And all of a sudden I hear my buddy at the time yelling. He goes, like screams at the top of his lungs. He's down below me about 300 or 400 yards. He goes, they're coming up. They're coming up. And this elk herd is literally erupting up the hillside. And I take off running towards this dark timber ahead of me. I'm in the jack pines where I can't see more than 10 feet. And I know if I can get over to that open timber, I'm going to at least have a shot, or be able to see something. That sounded like the direction they were going. And I run over there. And as soon as I clear the edge of the jack pines and get into the timber, there they are. Like they're filing, and they're 20 yards in front of me, and they're filing up in a line, and they got their tongues hanging out like because they've been pushed multiple times at this point, shot at
big time.
And I'm sure that someone already got one or two out of the group. And I got there just in time to catch the tail end of the herd. So the front half had already gone through, and it was like two or three elk were passing as I was like running up. And I was just trying to get into a position to shoot. And I get up there to the edge, and right as I get to the edge of the timber and I'm getting ready to like throw my gun up, I see this giant bull, massive, huge rosy. And he's got probably 5 or 6 on one side, and the other side is probably another 5 or 6. And he's just like one of the big royal looking bulls. And he's in the tail end of the herd. He's the second to last elk. And he clears, and I throw up my gun, and I have him in my scope. And I remember, like, if I was a little bit quicker with my reaction times like I am now, I would have just pulled up and shot him right in the back of the neck, and he would have probably just dropped, right? But I was a young man. I think I was probably 18, 19 maybe, and I throw up the gun, and, like, I'm trying to get set, and I turn my safety off, and, like, he clears the top of the hill and, like, disappears, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm just getting ready to take off running, and I hear this, and I look to my left, and I'm not shitting you, 10 yards from me is this spike in the wide open, and he's got his tongue hanging out, and he looks at me like, oh no, I'm caught.
He's got me.
I just swing over and put it on his front shoulder and squeeze off, dude. And he does this black beauty, rears up on its hind legs like this, kicking backwards, and then just flops backward on his back and just is like kicking in the air, and he's done. And I'm just like, yes. And then all of a sudden I hear shots above me. Boom, boom. I'm like, holy crap, sounds like a war zone. and all of a sudden there's like this chirping going on, like the cows are meow, 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 and they all just like got broken up again. And then, so what happened was, like, up above me, so Vernon, somehow he was right next to me, but somehow in the mix, he never even saw an elk, and just, he was off in the jack pine stuff and never cleared it or something.
Yeah.
And then one of the lead cow busted out on the road right above us where we had dropped in, And there was another group of guys who had followed us, and they were Weasley guys, dude. They started tracking us every year after that and like trying to drop in on what we were doing and get in on it because we were being successful and no one was successful down there. And so they figured, well, let's just follow these guys.
Yeah.
But anyways, they shot the lead cow, and she was the first one that came out on the road. And they shot her, and then all of the other elk came back down, and then instead of coming back down to me, went side hill, and then just got into the thick, nasty jack pine stuff and never came out. So that bull didn't get shot because he was the last one in that
out.
group. Yeah, he weaseled out somehow, and he probably hunkered down the rest of the time after that. But I killed that bull, you know, and it was so cool because like the whole family was there. And like we took it out whole. We put it on like a game cart and like did like a sled dog team pulling that thing out of there.
Right.
Yeah, it was awesome. In the glory days.
Was that your first elk, Jim?
No, that was my second elk, or I think it was my second elk. Because I killed a big bull before that.
Your first elk was a big bull?
Yeah, first elk was a 6x6.
You hear my disgust.
Yeah. But I think I didn't.
One of these days.
You know, I haven't killed as many elk as you have, though. I know that for sure. But let's hear. What does Chris have? What kind of story you got?
I got all sorts of stories.
I think Chris has got more stories than we do, Jim.
Well, yeah, he probably does, actually.
I'm going to tell an up and coming, soon to be make believe story. How about that?
Okay.
Sure, go for it.
It hasn't happened yet.
The imagination story?
Yeah, so
Imagination.
there's a couple things. So I have a hunt in 2 months where I'm going to go, because we don't have spring bear, right? Mm-hmm. Because of Jay Inslee, I'm going to start it on him again.
Oh, yeah, we can't get by at least.
Yeah, you can't get through one episode without
we did
me
get through the last one without
ripping
it.
on Jay
we
Inslee.
did.
Holy moly.
So Washington
Better
State
bring
Fish
it
and Game
back with a
Commission
vengeance.
took our spring bear hunt. So what are we gonna do, right? So I'm like, I tell my dad, I was like, hey, let's go up to Canada. Let's go on a Canadian hunt. And again, hate Trudeau, but we got to support like the hunters up there too, right? Because the outfits are struggling. Mm-hmm. So we talked to this guy. He seems like a super cool guy. I'm like, all right, we're gonna come up, and he's like, yeah, you can like for an extra $100 you get a wolf tag, and he's like, it's my dad just had knee replacement, so he's like, yeah, you can be as active or as inactive as you want. You know, we can like drive in on a 4-wheeler if you really need to. I'm like, oh, perfect for my dad, right? Mm-hmm. So we're gonna go up there, and I was gonna we'll see. So I was gonna take one of my father-in-law's bows, one of his recurves, and shoot a bear with said recurve, and then I realized that I have a plate in my left arm from a horrific arm wrestling accident. Yes, that's a true story. At arm wrestling practice, I'm not joking.
Weren't you like the arm wrestling champion?
I
or
was.
something?
I was a Washington State heavyweight arm wrestling champion, left and right-handed.
And you snapped your arm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right
really?
after the state tournament at practice. Yeah. Yeah.
There's practice for arm wrestling?
Yeah. True
Oh,
story.
geez.
Well,
Wow.
when you're a state champion,
Learn something new every day.
yeah, it's a big deal.
For those who don't know, Chris watched Over the Top too many times as a child.
I did. I still have my arm wrestling trophies. If I have enough cocktails, I will show you them.
I love it. All right, continue on.
So,
We get sidetracked.
So I broke my arm, and then I re-broke it, and it's this big long story. And anyways, so there's a plate in my left arm, and my left arm's super crooked, right? Well, the nerve has had enough of rubbing over this plate, so now it's like it's almost like you get like a shock, right? When I go to straighten my left arm out, and
geez.
I'm trying to shoot my bow, and it's not working right, and so I'm like, oh, so my father-in-law had a left-handed bow too, right? And I'm very much right-handed. Like I can't even eat cereal with my left hand. That's how bad it is, right?
Yeah,
And so
You should get a disability thing then.
oh, there's Doug. That's like eight podcasts worth of material of how messed up I am. So if you don't know, I'm like literally half metal. Like pick an injury from my pinky toe to the top of my head. I literally have had surgery on everything, and metal in most places.
Like the Bionicle Man.
Literally, I'm past $6 million actually in surgery. So I'm like, I'm gonna take this. I'm just gonna teach myself to shoot a recurve left-handed, right? And so I just started, and don't get me wrong, I went in a little cocky, right, thinking that I could just go out and start,
just hammering it down.
10 rings, right? And I think I shot like 24 arrows before I even so I got 3 hay bales stacked up, and it's just all around the target. And finally, I got like 1 in the target. And I'm like, oh shit, this is not going as expected. So I may take a gun, and you guys can comment on this. So here, I'm going to give you some choices, right? So it's going to be close.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be close, right? So I'm going to give you an array of choices. I can bring the left-handed recurve, right?
That you can't hit shit with.
That I can't hit shit with. This is
I'm already thinking this is a
fun
bad
little
idea.
Yeah, we're polling.
Yeah,
I can already see the comments. Yes, you should definitely take that.
Should totally do it.
Smear honey on
Shoot
your face.
a bear right in the guts.
Yeah,
right in the dick.
So obviously I own a gun shop, so there's many guns that I have in here that I could take. But I was thinking that I would either take my 28 Nosler, right, with the 195 burgers, which is like in a super ultra long range gun, and I'm only going to be shooting 30 yards.
30 yards.
But it's like it's still a hammer, right? Or I could take my 300 Ultra Mag with the 230s or the 220s. I got 4 or 5 Ultra Mags. Or I have a 416 Remington on a Remington 700 action, and it's got open sights, right? And it was my dad's gun that he had taken to South Africa and shot his Cape Buffalo with.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and it's
like
it's ripping hammers. I don't know, like 400 grain bullets. I think it's loaded up with. And then we also have the option. I have a Ruger #1, right? So like single shot,
yeah.
breech load, right? And that's in a 458 Winchester, I believe. Right.
Now we're talking just massive
slugs.
Yeah.
Well,
now you're speaking the language of what you want to have.
Or if you're watching this on the YouTubes, I'm going to have old Jimbo reach right behind him and grab this beautiful, fully engraved, which most people think like, oh, wow, that's a good-looking shotgun. And funny story, it's not a shotgun.
Oh, dude, it's gorgeous. Was that a walnut stock?
Oh, yeah, it's a old Turkish high-grade walnut. It's all, like, all the metalwork is beautifully
double
hand-engraved.
barrel.
I think you should take that.
It's a double barrel.
Dude, look at the size of the barrel load.
It's a 470
it looks
Nitro.
like a
Nitro Express.
470 Nitro.
Yeah, 470 Nitro Express. It's
wow.
So originally I got this because I was
putting fist holes through bears.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go to South Africa and I'm gonna shoot like the Big 5 with this, and I'm gonna be super cool like the guys on the TV, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
old Craig Boddington and all the cool guys, you know. And I literally, this is how soft I am. If you could see, how thick do you think that recoil pad is?
Like
0.
Quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
That's not a recoil pad.
It's not.
No.
It's just a piece of coloring on the end. I don't know why you would have a gun like this with no recoil pad, but I have some boxes of ammunition on the shelf behind me, and they are all 500 grain loads, and the bullets are about as long as Doug's middle finger, which is quite long.
Oh man, that's just a cannon.
It's so I might take this. So you can comment in the on the YouTubes or the Instas or wherever you're seeing this or hearing this or however this internet stuff
Dude,
works.
it's so cool.
But it's a pretty sweet gun.
Yeah, it is.
It's a pretty freaking sweet
Take
gun.
your pick.
Take your pick.
Which one should Chris try and kill himself with?
You know,
choose your weapon.
If it didn't have a $7,500 price tag on it, I'd buy it from you.
Yeah. Those of you who don't know, double rifles are incredibly expensive, and there's a fella on the internet. He goes by Amon, and the guy's an incredible hunter, been all around the world and killed literally like probably everything. Like he's straight up Noah's Ark, and he had a couple like stunning double rifles built, and I don't know the price tag on them, but like at a minimum, like probably definitely over 6 figures. Like, I mean, these guns are like stunning guns, you know. And there was one
that you don't want to take out of the safe.
What about a lever action? You don't have any lever action guns that you would bring?
You know, I got a 44 mag lever action. Honestly, I thought about.
You know, it's funny you say that, as I came across a 4570 Ruger Marlin the other day.
Oh yeah, those are cool guns, dude. A lot of people
I would totally shoot a 4570. Why'd you buy it?
I don't know.
Where'd you see it at?
Skagit Arms.
And you didn't buy it?
Was it like a stainless, or was it like classic?
It was a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it older version or the newer version?
No, it was the newer one.
Okay.
Brand new.
Brand new.
And it was in the used box. It looked like someone that had been working there probably stuck it and hit it like in the back so no one could see it.
Classic.
What was the price tag on it?
Like just $300 cheaper than brand new.
Oh, really?
Which is like free when it comes to guns.
Yeah. I'm like, well, maybe I'll.
Let's just say
it's probably
caught
gone.
a rouse in the room.
Yeah.
As soon as that thing
I've
came
wanted
out. What is that?
lever action 4570 for a while.
You know, I don't have one. To be completely honest, it was like
I don't know how that's possible, but
and I'm going to give you one last option.
ooh. Don't leave us hanging, bro. Let's hear it.
I have an 8 3/8 inch.
What is 8 3/8 inch?
When you bend it to the side. I have a Taurus Raging Bull.
Ooh, yeah.
454 Casull that I have killed a couple critters with, and it's old gun. I've had it for a long time. Put a bunch of work into it, and it shoots incredible. It shoots really, really good. And I used to have like the little mount on the top with a red dot, but the recoil is so hard that it like bent all the metal on the mounts. So I just shoot at open sights now. But the gun shoots really, really well, super well. So I could take that too, guys.
Well, personally, I'd like to see you bring the double barrel, but I know that's a cannon. But you're going after like, hopefully the hope is like a 6.5, 7 foot bear.
Yeah, big.
I mean, yeah, that side by side is probably overkill.
Oh, it's definitely overkill.
Hey,
100%.
But
it would be pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
What do I say, Doug? You can't kill something too much, right?
Yeah. This is true.
You can't. You just can't. You can't do it. Right?
Either that, or I like the idea of you shooting it with a handgun.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. But you're your own man. You make your own decisions.
Well, we're gonna let the internet decide. We'll see what you say. Unless
we're gonna let fate decide, guys.
Or I could take my brand new Buckmark pocket knife.
Buckmark pocket knife.
I think that I think any of them would work, But I'm like, I've never been on a guided hunt like this, Like I've been to South Africa, which you have to be guided there, but like I've never actually paid for a guided hunt in anywhere, right? So I'm like, this is gonna be, I don't know, like I've never hunted bait before. I'm really curious to see how it goes. I'm excited, so I'm taking my dad. Right,
take your choice.
Yeah. So that's the big thing is like I'm going with my dad, right? So we're gonna bring those of you listening. You're in for a real treat. I'm not letting the cat out of the bag here, but we're bringing a cameraman with us, a professional cameraman, and so hopefully we get some good footage. So if you choose poorly and I die, it'll probably be caught on camera. So. Please don't do that.
If he doesn't eat the cameraman,
I don't think any of those rounds you just said are going to be like kind of risque. I think that they're going to be definitely enough.
The left-handed bow might be a little.
100% the trad bow is definitely the most risque.
I have been shooting it every day though.
The most risque.
I am getting better. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm getting better, but it's not. I'm not great. I'm not gonna lie, guys.
I would personally not do that.
You don't have the full confidence.
Yeah,
not
like
yet.
The other ones.
I could be great in 2 months.
You could just tell the guide, I just shot a 7-foot black bear in the rump with a traditional bow.
Right.
We have to track it.
It's all right, but because I put a fulsome point on it, so it's the way I could rub it in Steven Renella's face.
There you go. There we go. We're already taking the jabs here.
Totally worth it.
Yep.
So
Totally
that's
going for it.
that's the you guys can vote on said guns and see
Cool.
what you come up with. And
I like that idea.
yeah, but I'm excited about that hunt. I feel like I most of us here it's time to put in for Washington State special hunts, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's coming up real soon.
Coming up soon, yeah.
And so I feel like one of us, so we talk about oil tags a lot, right? And that's once in a lifetime draw. So our state has moose, sheep, goat, and then they have
There's a lot of sub
that
tags
aren't
inside of that too.
Yeah, and like things that aren't oil, basically like once in a lifetime in Washington.
Quality elk.
Yeah, quality elk.
deer.
We all got 20-something points, so that's 20. When we say a point, you get a point a year that you have to pay for if you pay for it every year. So like say I got 20 points, so that's 2 decades of putting in.
2 decades.
I haven't been drawn.
Mm-hmm. Neither have I. I've never drawn a quality bull tag. I've never drawn a quality deer tag. I've never drawn anything other than the best tag I've ever drawn in my life was, a spring bear tag was cool. We've gotten a couple of those.
Nice.
I think I drew 3 spring bear tags in my lifetime. And I drew a Toodle cow tag just before hoof rot took hold. And that was cool, except for the fact that the next year they changed the points over and I lost all my points on that cow when I could have waited another, I think, 2 years, and then I would have been able to have kept my quality bull and bull points. So I would have like way more. I'd be like 25 or something like that. But,
So
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
yeah.
I think I still have 15 this year.
So hoping for some good draws here, obviously, because I got a lot of points. I would love an oil tag. Would love for one of us to get an oil tag so we can go,
Yeah.
make an incredible hunt.
Right.
Film it, show all the people on the internets how cool something like that could be.
To work that ain't gonna be there.
Yeah, there you go. Doug drew a moose tag.
Yeah, you get drawn for one of those tags.
That's pretty much how it's gonna be.
You call in.
There you go. You just tell them, hey, I'm going to be gone this time. And they're like, what, you don't have any time off? You say, well, that's too bad. That's what
I
I'm going to
drew
do.
a once in a lifetime tag. I ain't letting go of it.
There you go.
No.
All right, Doug.
Don't let them go to waste.
Doug, your story time next.
Oh man, another story.
Yeah, you can tell us a bird story. I want to hear something good.
All right, how about the first basket 4x4 out of the 4 that I got in a row
Yes.
up in our beloved family hunting spot that has been ravished by cougars.
Yep.
Go
Go buy a lion tag, people, and get out there.
Yeah, go get them lions. So, I was walking up in this area that we knew that there was definitely lots of deer. Been lots of deer taken off of this mountain before. And I can't remember. It was the first year, it was 4-point minimum.
Okay.
And it happened to be, we went to Mazama first. And then you went over there.
Yes. Okay.
And put the hammer down
Mm-hmm.
and called us up. And they're like, you need to go over here.
Mm-hmm.
So we packed up camp and we drove on over to the other spot.
Yeah.
And we got there and we were seeing deer all over the place. Like, it was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen so many deer over there.
It was the first year that
And
they
there
were,
was no one up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
everyone
it
was,
went to 4-point minimum. So everyone's like,
screw
forget it.
Yeah.
It was either the first or it was the second year that they did
Yeah.
that. I can't remember. So anyway, I walked out into the spot and jumped some deer, and one was a buck, and I had very little time to even try and get a shot off, but I was like, oh man. So I sat there for about 20 minutes, thinking hopefully this thing's going to show up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, across this, there was a draw on one side of me. It came out to like a point, and then there was like a clear cut down here. And the deer jumped out and ran down the hill, and it popped up on this rock face that was across from me. That it basically came and went down and was trying to go up and around me.
Mm-hmm.
And it stood there for the longest time. And, it was 4-point minimum, so I had to make sure.
Yeah.
And it was looking the other way, so all I could see was his back and then rack. And then I could just see like eye guards, so I was like, okay, this has got my interest. and I'm whistling at this buck to try and get the thing to turn its head, and it wouldn't do it. I was just like, what the hell? So finally it turned its head, had 3 points. I'm like, all right, this is a shooter.
Yeah.
So I put it right on, the middle of its back, about right where the shoulders are, and pull the trigger, and this thing rears back and kicks up and falls over dead right there.
Nice.
Right on this rock face. And I had no idea how steep it was at the time, right?
So is this below you or above you?
It was below me, but it was like almost level, like across this draw from me. But it was just down a little bit. So I didn't know how steep it was until I got there. Once I got there and I realized how steep it was, I was like, oh boy. I'm in for
like sketchy steep?
Yeah, like straight up, straight down.
Oh, geez.
And it's that rock shale.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That just falls down the mountain.
Yeah.
So I grab it by the rack and I go to flip it over and the thing starts to like take off down the hill. And I'm like, oh boy. So I'm like, all right, time out. I grab out some paracord and I tie it to a tree so I can gut this thing. So I was like, yeah. So I get it gutted, and then I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I can't drag it up the hill. It's way too steep.
Way too steep, yeah.
And then looking down, I mean, it's like straight down, right? There's like one path that I can see that I can make. Mm-hmm. So I start dragging this thing, and as soon as I grab it and I drag it, like 1 foot, the thing takes off and goes past me. I'm like, okay. And I'm by myself, too. So it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess if it wants to just go, I'm just going to give it a push. And I gave it a push, and it tumbled down the hill. And I was like, hopefully going like this, like, oh, please don't break a rack off. It's just like, please, Lord, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
And it made it all the way down the bottom. And it like racked its neck a couple times.
Oh, man.
And I got super lucky, got down there. No damage to the rack at all.
Good.
Still intact.
They're pretty resilient.
Yeah. And got it down to the first road. And then we had to do that same thing basically again. So I had met up with Uncle Vern. Mm-hmm. And he ended up dragging it down to the lower road while I went out and I got the cart.
Nice.
And where we parked the truck, there's a gate. So they locked these gates because I think it was a timber company area.
Yeah.
So long story short, I hiked all the way out to the truck, got the cart, hiked all the way down the hill, got my dad, he was recording it. It's like, oh yeah, he's all excited. Mm-hmm. We get to the buck, throw it on the cart, and it was probably like 1.5 miles to where we met with Vern when he came down with it. Threw it on the cart and packed it all the way up this, and it wasn't like a steep road, but it's a long, long uphill grade. So, and pretty much pulled that thing all the way up there by myself.
Oh, man. I think I know where you're talking about.
Yeah, and then we get all the way up to the gate, and Vern decides to be a funny guy, and he goes, hey, wouldn't this be funny if the gate was unlocked? And he grabs the pin that holds the gate closed, and he pulls the pin out, and there was no lock in the gate, and the gate was unlocked, and we could have drove all the way down to this deer to pick it up, and I suffered. But you know what? There was a lot of satisfactory after that.
Oh, sure. For sure. Those are like the best when you put that hard sweat.
There's so much effort you put in it. And there was another one I shot another one back there in that bowl.
I've pulled probably 2 or 3 deer out of that hole down there.
Yeah.
And I call it a hole because I know it just goes down, down, down.
Yeah, in that area there's some really nasty spots that you get into. It's gonna be one hell of a trip out of there. That's for sure.
We started hunting that when we were little kids. Mm-hmm. I think we didn't really do it too much when we were really little, but like when we were young, like our teens and stuff.
Yeah, you had to be young, and especially when we finally had the chance to hunt in that area, because beforehand it was kind of up in the air whether the gate was going to be open or what.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And when it was open, it was a real fun time. There was
Yeah,
a lot of camps that everyone got something.
Mm-hmm. Well,
those are the good old days.
I'll jump into how are we doing on time here, Doug?
How are we doing on time?
We're doing good.
Yeah.
All right, I'll jump into a bear story.
Do a couple more stories.
We haven't done a bear story yet, and this one would be a pretty good one here. Let me think. Okay, I got one. So this goes back to high country. This was my first experience in the backcountry. So this is me, 22 years old, I think, probably 21, 22, somewhere in there. We packed up into this area, up into where a couple lakes are. I just went back there recently again. So I'm not gonna give away the exact region, but it's in, we'll say, the southeast, I guess north southeast. I don't know, but anyways,
Portland.
Yeah, it was right in Portland. For those of you trying to figure it out, so we actually went up there for an elk hunt, and it was the first year that they switched from it was a antlerless or a draw unit for bull or spike. And this was the first year that they switched back from cow and spike to just spike. So it was kind of a crapshoot anyway, because you're looking for a needle in a haystack, looking for a spike,
pretty much.
And so we go up there and we're seeing lots of elk and stuff, but it was just super slow. And it was just like, well, I'm seeing bears. Like, I would rather bear hunt. So, like, I remember we went out to this point. I'm like, I had this place where we saw some bears, and we decided that we were going to go back there and specifically hunt bears. So that day, we just said, screw elk hunting, and just packed a rifle, because we brought a rifle up with us as well. And we get into this spot where it's like, I'm just going to paint the picture here. So there's like a little bit of wild huckleberries on the hillside, low growing wild huckleberries. There's blueberries everywhere. Oh, yeah. Then there's like these faces that are south facing that have like these big red patches of blueberries that are like completely ripe and falling off on the ground. And that's where the bears were hitting. And I remember the first night we decided to do that. We go up to the spot, we're glassing. It's like maybe 15, 20 minutes in, boom, pick up a bear on the hillside. It's eating blueberries, and it's way far away, like way far, like probably a mile and a half, maybe. As the crow flies.
That's in range.
Yeah, well, okay.
For Mr. Chris, that's in range.
Dude, it's forever away, okay? And we picked it up with a spotter, and then we're like, we got about an hour and a half of daylight. And I'm like,
that's a long ways to cut that.
It's a long ways,
that kind of time.
But I was in good shape back then, and I was a freaking animal, and I wasn't afraid of cutting that distance and coming up shorthanded, right? Because I was just like, I'm just hike back. It's fine.
Open country, no, it's not. Like
there's timber. So in order to get to this bear, we had to drop off this steep, nasty face with a bunch of shale and other crap, and then get down to the bottom where there was a lake, go down across the lake area, and then get to the other side, and then go up, and then get into a position which was like halfway up this little basin to shoot uphill to where this bear was. And Chris is like, yeah, he probably knows exactly where this is. So
it's more like a 3 hour hike.
That's a 4 hour hike,
dude. It's forever.
Yeah.
Well, young me, I'm just like, screw it, dude, we're doing it. And my buddy at the time was like, "Oh, are you sure you want to do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna make it happen." And I shit you not, like, we dropped off that face, and it like the hardest part was getting off through the shale and the nasty stuff. But once we got down to the lake, like, we shot across there, dude, and we were over there in 30 minutes from that time, from when we got to the lake, and then got up into position. And by then, it's like the sun's just starting to go down, but it's not like dark light yet.
Right.
And bear's nowhere to be found, of course, because it's like everything's different. Once you move down in something, you start looking, and it's like, oh, this isn't how I envisioned it.
Yeah. I
just thought we were going to walk over there and just gonna be in the open, just,
right.
But no. It wasn't like that.
Not. Right.
So bear's not there. So it takes us a minute, and I'm like trying to get in position. And finally, I pick up the bear. He's uphill, and he's in a different spot. And I'm like, dude, looking back, like it was such a chip shot. I should have just shot him right there. But it was like 200, 250 maybe. And I'm shooting my 308. And I'm like, I always had this thing where I wanted to get as close as I could. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, it's in the open. I'll just run up there and get closer and shoot it. And you know how it is. And then you get into it, and it's way different because the angles of the hill.
Right.
And then there's brush that looks like it's 4 feet tall, is 10 feet tall. And
right.
So I get over there, and I'm like getting closer and closer. And finally, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to even see this bear. And I started getting closer and closer, and I can't pick it up. And I hear other bears in the thick brush around me, and I can't see them. And I don't know if I was blowing them out or what. I'm sure they probably smelled me and took off. So there was other bears just like hanging out in there, just sleeping, you know, and I'm like jumping through this brush, jumping animals out like an idiot. And finally I get up and I get into like the other side of this thick brush, and I get to where the bear actually was. And there he is sitting there just mowing down on blueberries. You know, he's belly deep in blueberries bushes, just eating. And he's above me about 60 yards.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And I'm just like, holy crap, there he is. And I do one of these, just throw up. And when I say it's steep, I mean it's vertical steep. It's like this. And that bear is just like, you know, bears can climb in some really extreme country.
Yeah.
And it's like steeper than steep. And so when I say aim, I aimed up, like it was almost like shooting a bear out of a tree. It was that steep. Yeah. So I'm just like this, and I shoot this bear in the chest because it was like kind of like pointed downhill, like just mowing on berries. And I just thought, oh, I'll just shoot him in the chest. So I shoot, and he immediately does a poof, just like does that, and then starts rolling, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, he's going. And he's like directly above me, and he's rolling downhill. And I'm just like, oh, I'm just waiting for him to like roll past me. Well, he gets about 15 to 20 yards away, and he catches himself.
Oh, shit.
And just like catches his legs and then is barreling down the hill right towards me, like in a direct line above me. And I'm just like, I remember it was like slow motion. I just like throw my gun up, and I'm just like, I see this bear like taking up my whole vision of my scope, just like down the hill at me. And I'm just like, I put it in the middle of its back and just, and then it hits, rolls again, and then just starts rolling. And I literally only had enough time to literally jump backwards with my gun in my hand off of the hillside where it was rolling to, and like almost took me out, and then just kept rolling past me into this brush down below me. And I was just like, holy shit, that was crazy. Because yeah, it probably wasn't charging me. It probably just caught its legs and was just running downhill. But like, he was charging me.
It was going in that direction.
Dude, it was not going to be good. Like, he probably was just going to grab me on the way and be like, you son of a bitch.
Bite your head off as it's going by.
But dude, it was hell. So we still had enough daylight. I think we took some pictures. I think I've posted that one before up in the blueberry fields. But man, it was a hell of a pack out. We had to break it all down right there, debone it, and take the hide off and everything. And then we hiked it out, which in reality, we should have just buried it in a snowdrift and then had the packer come down there later on and dig it out, you know. But, you know, you're young and dumb. You're like, I'm taking it back to camp with me, you know. So we ended up taking that whole thing out of that hole, and it is a hell of a climb back out to where we were camping at, which is another 3,000 foot elevation gain.
That's a brutal climb.
And it was like, so we got back at 2 o'clock in the morning. We are just dragging ass, dude, toasted. And we're supposed to be up in like 2 hours to hunt elk. And I still did it. I got up in 2 hours and I sat in the tree stand. That was the first time I ever dozed asleep sitting in a tree stand and actually had my harness save my life.
Really?
Yeah, I was wearing a harness and I just had it like, you know, like one of the full harnesses. And I was just like sitting in the tree stand, like nothing's happening. I'm just like, and get caught by my harness. I'm like, oh, geez, good thing I'm wearing this harness.
Yeah.
But
safety first.
Yeah, that was my first backcountry experience. What do you got?
I got all kinds of stuff. Throw a dart. What do you want to hear about?
Tell me a cool Montana story.
Oh, I got some good Montana stories. I got some really good Montana stories. Elk, deer.
Let's
wolves.
do. Well, I've never heard the wolf story. Let's do a wolf story.
Okay. So there I was.
Prepare to be offended.
Yes.
Wolf lovers.
So it was. God, that was long. I'm trying to remember what year it was. I had a couple buddies over. My uncle was there. My buddy from Yakima was there. So usually when I go over, there's a couple different guys that will go and we'll have a big camp and you need to, because when you shoot something there, it's like you're not shooting stuff on the road, right? It's deep, and it's usually not. I mean, don't get me wrong, the terrain's not like incredibly rugged. Down on the southwest corner, like if you get into some of the areas like on the Continental Divide, it get a little steep, but usually it's not too bad. So we're hunting and we're having a good time, and we were. I think I'd shot a deer, and then we were elk hunting. And a lot of this area, it's a travel route, right? So when the snow comes, it pushes the critters out, and they come down in this valley. And so I'm like, hey, there's this. We can cut up over this little knob, and there's a cut, and we can if we can get up over the top, we can glass all this other stuff. But it had snowed, I don't know, like maybe a foot or something like that. But it was cold, really, really cold. So we get up in the morning, and truck doesn't want to start. You finally get it going, and it's the temperature registered is, and this is like not in the wind, just the temperature of 17 below.
Oh jeez, right? That's bitter.
Yeah, and if you haven't ever been in cold like that, I had a bunch of like Cabela's the Ultimate gear, like the Berber and the and like that stuff's incredible. By the way,
great.
Like, bang for your buck, like that's
longevity, lasts your lifetime.
Yeah, in cold weather, like it's freaking incredible. So I got all my stuff on my Cabela's Ultimate, and we're me and my buddy Jason. I'm like, hey man, let's just go over there. We'll just go out for a little bit, and we'll just see if there's any elk moving through, because it's so cold. It's like clear. I mean, you could see for 15 miles easy, right? Wow. And everything is white, right? So you can see even better. And so I remember we pull up to this gate and turn the truck off, and we get out, and instantly I'm like, oh my God, this is a bad idea. It is so cold. It is
I was going to say, it was a bad idea when you turned the truck off.
And so like I get out, and I got like gloves, and then I got mittens that go over the gloves type of deal, and I put my backpack on, and I get my rifle, and I got all my crap on my head, and like I remember, because if you blinked your eyes for too long, it would stick. Like it would freeze your eyelids shut. Like my eyelashes are white, my beard's white.
Oh, geez.
Everything, like instantly. Like, I mean, we're talking like 30 seconds in, right? And so my buddy's like, he had these huge, like, I remember these elk mittens he's got on. And he's this little bearded guy, and he's just like, oh, this is a good idea, so we're having fun. And I'm like, well, let's just, it's not too bad. Like to hike, I mean, it's vertical, but it's not terrible, right? So we're getting up and we're hiking, and at least we're kind of moving a little bit, and it's pretty quiet, because there's so much snow, and we're sneaking up, and a lot of the times when I go over there, I just kind of like play guide and show the guys around. I'm like, hey, let's go kill some stuff. Like I've killed enough critters over there where it's like, it's super fun to get other guys on stuff.
Yeah.
And so most of the time when I spot something, I'm like, hey, you want to shoot a deer, you want to shoot an elk or whatever, right? And we get up. There's a timbered knob to my right, and then a bald knob to my left, and we're down in the saddle, and we're walking up. And once you get over this, and it just kind of goes down, and it flattens out this massive, big, huge area where you can glass, and there's some willows down to the left, like whitetail down there, but there's a bunch of elk that usually filter through here. So I'm like, okay, we're just gonna kind of sneak up over the top. We're just gonna take a peek. It's no big deal. And we'll just sit here and glass for a little bit, and the sun's gonna come up. We're gonna warm up. Everything's gonna be great. My eyelids are freezing together as I'm talking. Freaking miserable.
Yeah.
And we get almost to the peak of the saddle, and I look over to the left, and I'm like, and I've hunted this enough to know, like, I remember the terrain pretty well, right? And I look over, I go, huh. I don't remember that bump being there on the hill, you know? That's a weird bump. It just looked like a bump of snow, you know? But I was like, there's no rocks over there. Like, this is just scorched earth. There's nothing. There's no trees. There's no nothing. And so I'm like, huh. So I fished my binos out. You know, I got my mittens on, right? I don't want to take my mittens off just to my gloves because it's so freaking cold. And I pull up and look, and this little bump is a bedded wolf in the snow looking directly at us, right?
No kidding.
And I'm like, oh, shit. And I like, so I got my binos up, you imagine, and I'm like, we're in the open, right?
Right.
Yeah, it sees you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's looking right at us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jason. And he's like, what? I was like, don't move. He's like, why? I go, there's a wolf right there. And I remember, again, usually because I'm like, hey, you know, if you like, I'm the guy that's like, hey, let's.
You want to shoot something?
You want to shoot something? And he goes, oh, you want me to shoot it? And I'm like, fuck no. I'm like, you just don't move.
Don't you mess this up.
Yeah, like, don't move. I'm like, slowly get down, take a knee, and lay down in the snow. And I like reel, so I got range finding binoculars, right? So I hit it. It's 442 yards. And I'm like, okay, just get down real slow. Then I remember I put my binos back on I got a chest bino harness, and I flip the top over, and I get down, and then I got to take my mittens off, and instantly my hands were so freaking cold. And I lay down, and it's a foot of snow, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I got to shoot uphill, and again, like everything is bolted together in my body. When I broke my back, so I have they're called Harrington rods. So my spinal cord's literally like there's a steel or a titanium cage around it, so it's bolted. So I can't pick my head up very far. So when I have to shoot uphill, like it just physically, like my fat head won't bend my neck, right? So I'm trying to make this work, and I'm trying to be quiet and like real smooth about it because this thing is looking directly at us, and all I can see is its ears. And its muzzle and just like maybe like 3 inches of his chest, right? And I want to say I was shooting this. I'm pretty sure I was shooting this gun right here, this 300 Ultra Mag. And so I'm almost positive I was. And so I get down, I fold the bipods out. They're just long enough to clear the snow. And I lay down, and I got a dope sheet on the side, and I crank it to like it was 442. So I think I like cranked it to 450, I think. And I lay down and I get on this, and he's just like, you sure, you know, like Jason's like, you sure you're gonna shoot it? You don't want me to shoot it? I'm just gonna be quiet. Shh, shh. I'm like, just shut your mouth. It's mine. It's mine. It's all mine. It's mine. You know, like I don't know why I was so like wolves get me jacked up, like predators get me jacked up in general, right?
Yeah.
And so I lay down and I'm like usually I'm like, hey, pull your phone out, or I always have a video camera with me. Hey, we should videotape this, right? And I'm just like, don't move, don't say a thing. And I remember I lay down and I zoomed my scope in and I put it right underneath its muzzle and I touched off and just freaking center punch it, 10 ring, right? Like
nice.
Basically right in the throat, and this thing's laying down and instantly dead.
Instantly done.
It didn't even move?
No, didn't even move. Didn't stand up, nothing, just lights out. And I was so freaking jacked. I remember like I was instantly like, my body's 100 degrees, you know, like everything is hot. And I was like, stand up. And Jason's like, we're high-fiving and we're jacked. And I remember walking up there and seeing this thing. And I was like, I got up close and I was like, holy shit, this thing is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know, nose to tail is probably like 6-7 feet. I don't know how long it is. I mean, I got it in my downstairs, you know, and so I just remember seeing this thing. I was like, holy shit, this thing is huge, you know.
I mean, you're a big guy. You picked it up and it was still touching the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know how long my arms are, but you know, like my arms barely fit around it. You know, the chest cavity. Yeah. I mean, it was a freaking big wolf. Yeah, and I just remember, man, I was so like I carried it out, you know, like, you know, this was pre like Cam Haynes, you know. I was like, oh no, you know, I don't know if you got any pictures of that Cam Haynes, but I'm carrying out a wolf, you know, whole like a badass. But and I remember I bring it back and I laid it on my tailgate of my truck, and it's like hanging over like both sides of the tailgate.
Dude, I know, I saw that picture.
Dude, it was so big. It was so freaking big, and I still remember that hunt, and I remember how miserable it was when we got out of the truck, and I could have just said like, oh, dude, you know, like,
would have never happened.
Pancake time, you know.
Yep.
And hammered a wolf, and now it took a long time, but I that same year I had shot my biggest elk that's in my downstairs, and I have a picture of it on my Instagram, and it's like I got that wolf life size fight and that elk life size. And
same hunt, right?
Yeah, same hunt, same year.
Nice.
Same hunt,
And
same
they're
year.
both,
Wow.
and that elk was a great story too. And
That's a dope mount, by the way.
yeah, it was. It came together. I had one taxidermist who didn't want to mount it the way I wanted to mount it, and so like I ended up having 2 different taxidermists mount it and put it together, but it turned out pretty sweet. So
Yeah. It's super cool. It's one of my favorite. I think it is my most favorite piece of taxidermy you have.
and that's the wolf hunt.
That's awesome.
That's the wolf hunt.
I like it.
Well, I think we better wrap this up. We've been going here for a little minute. Once again, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Black Rifle Coffee, Montana Knife Company, and Loophole. And for everyone out there, stay humble and hunt hard.
Thanks.